Hey everyone, it's Hello World, and today we have a build guide for you guys. So a friend of mine recently asked me to build a PC for him, so here we have all the parts. So I'm going to go over the parts for you guys here today. We have an 8700K GeForce RTX 2080, pretty high-end card we have. Asus Prime Z370A motherboard. For our power supply, we're going to be using an EVGA 1000 watt GQ. For storage, we're going all SSDs. We're going to be using a 970 EVO 500 gig, and then two 860 EVO 1 terabytes in RAID. That's going to be pretty baller if you ask me. We have three LL120s to replace everything that we have on our H500i right here. And we have a USB 2 internal hub because, well, we don't have enough USB headers and that sucks. We have over here 32 gigabytes of Vengeance RGB Pro and a lighting expansion kit for our Lighting Node Pro that comes with the LL120. Is anything else up there? I think we're good. So, let's get on with the build. So this is a full build guide from first box to first boot, and we're going to go over a couple of things you want to do before you get started, and one of them is having an anti-static wristband. This isn't actually a real one, but you know, it'll do. So, another thing that I wouldn't recommend doing is building on carpet, although we're professional builders. Don't do what we're doing. So, the reason why is because we don't want static. These things are designed to have maybe at most 2 volts going through them, 12 if you're 12 for actual power, and static, if you didn't know already, is a couple 100,000, maybe even 1,000,000 volts. You don't want that going through your system. You could kill something. But Kyle actually killed a 1080 Ti by zapping it with static electricity. It sucks. A couple of tools you're going to need a screwdriver, that's your bare minimum, and you're also going to want scissors to unbox and maybe later to cut some zip ties off for cable management. So, you're going to want to start with your motherboard. This big circuit board is probably one of the biggest boxes that you're going to get. We have an Asus Prime Z370A, as I said earlier, and so you're going to want to unbox this here. So, next thing you're going to want to do is you're obviously going to want to open the box, and we're going to have this huge circuit board thing that's going to come out, and yeah, we're going to take this, and we don't want any of the rest of this stuff right now, and we're going to want to keep this box on hand because we're actually going to be putting our motherboard inside of it, on top of it actually, to start the build process. So, we just do this, open up this anti-static packaging, and we have our relatively glorious motherboard. So, here it is. Next thing you're going to want to do is to unbox your CPU. So this is going to be relatively straightforward. Cut the tape and open the box. Doy. AMD systems, you're going to want to make sure you keep the CPU in its protected clamshell. But, I mean, we're building an Intel system, and the CPUs are a lot more less fragile. They're a lot more robust. That's the word I was looking for. So, when you're picking up your CPU, try to pick it up only by the edges, and don't touch any of the gold pins or contacts depending on which system you're building. So, next thing you're going to want to do, you're going to want to take the lever on your motherboard, you're going to want to pop it open, revealing the socket on your CPU, or on your motherboard. You're going to want to line up a little tiny gold triangle. Focus, focus. There we go. You're going to want to line up this little yellow triangle on your CPU with the socket on your motherboard. So, there's a little triangle in the bottom left corner of your motherboard socket thing, and all you're going to want to do is drop the CPU in. You do not have to force this. If you have to force it, you're doing it wrong. And all you're going to have to do is just wiggle it a little bit, make sure it's in. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're just going to take this cover, put it down on the CPU, and the lever should come down and rest in its socket. On Intel systems, this is going to require quite a bit of force. Don't get worried. Just as long as you don't hear any weird cracking. Now, the plastic here will kind of pop off, and don't take this off early unless you really have to, like we did. And yeah, so now we're going to move on to other components of your PC. So, next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab all of your RAM. In this case, we're using 32 freaking gigabytes of RAM. This is going to be a pretty insane system. You're going to want to unbox your RAM. Duh. You can't put anything in without unboxing it. If I can get this box open. There we go. Box is open. Now we're going to pop this open here. So, to install your RAM, all you're going to do is take the DIMM slots on your motherboard and push back all of the little levers. There might be levers on the other side of certain motherboards, but this one doesn't happen to have that. And you're just going to want to take your RAM, pop it open, and take the units out. Okay. Alright then, I'm going to have to pop those out. So, if you're installing 2 sticks of RAM, you're going to want to use whatever your motherboard manufacturer tells you to do. In our case, with Asus's case, usually it's lighter gray sockets. So we're just going to start with those first. Line up the notch on your DIMM right here with the little notch on your DIMM slot. You're just going to want to line up both sides, make sure they're lined up. You don't want to break any of this. And you're going to want to just, okay, I just clicked a notch there. You want to push down with even force and it should click in just fine. And want to do that again with all of the other DIMMs until you've run out of DIMMs. Okay, so basically we mounted the cooler pump because we're using a liquid AIO. So we went ahead and mounted it. But when it comes to mounting your cooler, most come pre-applied with thermal paste. However, not all of them do. You're going to have to refer to your motherboard manufacturer to have a bit more of what to do there. So we decided to go ahead and do that right away. So we were about to mount our motherboard, then we realized we need to install our 970 EVO here, which is an M.2 drive which goes on the motherboard. So M.2 drives install based on a PCI Express sort of slot, and that's why they go on the motherboard rather than in a different place. So here's a 970 EVO, and in order to install an SSD, first of all you're going to make sure you have your SSD standoff in the right place. So ours is going in the 2280 section, or a slot thing. So we're just going to put that in. And then we're going to grab an M.2 screw to have on hand. And our screwdriver, which we're going to put the M.2 screw onto. Then the M.2 drive, basically, it literally just slots into the PCI Express connector. And it just goes down. Just like that. And then you're just going to use your screwdriver to plop it down. Good to go. That's a 970 drive. Now we're going to put our M.2 heatsink back on here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to mount our motherboard inside of our case. So we're going to unscrew our amazing glass panel here. We're going to hold up. Don't break it. There we go. Alright, so you're going to want to store your tempered glass panel, if it's tempered glass, back inside of the box that your case came in. That is the safest place to put it before you're done building. That way your case won't break. Or that way your glass won't break, more specifically. So we're going to turn our case over now. So we ended up actually, you're going to have to look inside of your case because a lot of case manufacturers will hide their screws and accessories inside of the case, and that means motherboard screws, motherboard standoffs, and certain ones will come with zip ties just like ours here. So we're going to go ahead and take all the stuff out and look for motherboard screws. They should just literally say motherboard screws on here. Those are fan screws. So I believe they are these guys. So I'm going to mount our motherboard now. I'm going to take the entire thingamajig that we have set up here. And okay, I see the standoff.
All 3 flashlights.
There we go. Motherboard is now ready to be screwed in. So certain motherboard or certain case manufacturers will include a middle standoff that has a little bump on it, which will help you mount your motherboard because that way you won't have to be holding it in place while it's while you're trying to put the screws in. This just helps if you're building alone, and it's a lot easier even if you're building with friends. That was fun. Okay, So after doing a bit of cable management and stuff, we're going to be installing the power supply now. I would recommend, if you have a semi-modular or modular power supply, to plug in everything you need to plug in before you put the power supply in, especially with a mid-tower case where you don't really have much room to do anything else. So what we're going to do is just slide the power supply in, and there we go. And then all we have to do is put the screws on, and then we're good. So there are a couple different main connectors that are going to be going to your motherboard. We have your 24-pin motherboard power, and that's very important. You're going to have one of those. And PSUs, power supplies, usually come with one of them. If they don't, we have a problem. It's probably too old. And then there's also your 8-pin, usually it's 8-pin, there can also be 4-pin CPU power connector, also referred to as EPS in the tech industry. Those are two connectors that go into your motherboard, and then later on there are different power connectors around back. Don't stop it there. So, there are typical little flat connectors right here. These are called SATA connectors. These are usually powering different drives, peripherals, and other things. And then we also have your graphics card power, which we'll be plugging in later. And then we also have Molex. This is relatively old, and usually people don't use it anymore, but certain things like our USB hub still use them, so you might have to plug one in. So, Nathan here actually made an appearance. This is actually his PC. He made an appearance for the unboxing of the most expensive part in the entire PC. So, I'll cut one half. Want to do the honors? Take the other half? Alright. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Why?
You didn't cut this.
Why? Alright.
Get the skizzers. You missed. There you go.
Bum, bum. Hallelujah.
Look at that.
Okay. The card is out. And this, my friends, is pure power right here. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this out of its anti-static bag right here. Well, actually, one of the thingies came off. What's that? Let's go, boys.
Look at that, dude.
This is pure power right here.
Graphics card.
Alright. We're gonna put this in a minute here. You can cut. Do, 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 do. Okay, so in order to install our piece of glory right here, it's amazing, am I right? So, we're gonna have to take off these two screws back here. If we can get our screwdriver down there. Well, this can be fun. I can tell already. Okay, we're gonna have to use this thumb screw and remove the vertical GPU mount on the H500i in order to actually access our horizontal GPU mount, which we're going to be using for now. So then we're going to go ahead and use our screwdriver to unscrew the two placeholders, I guess. I'm actually not sure what they're called. We're going to unscrew the two placeholders that we require in order to install our GPU here. Keep the screws for later, we're going to be using those. We're going to take off the little shield on our PCI Express bridge here. Then what we're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up the little thingy right here on your PCI Express slot. And then you're going to want to make sure everything is out of the way. And then slowly make sure it's lined up. And it should be clicked in. And then all you have to do is put some screws on it. Okay, now we have to plug in power. Okay. Now, let's get ourselves some RGB going on in here. So, where do you want all of these? Oh, these are magnetic, aren't they? Are they? Oh, they're magnetic. Perfect. Let's go. Alright guys, so we have the PC pretty much all done now. So, step one, we're gonna flip the power switch on. And here.
Okay.
And
press the top button.
Hopefully it'll work.
It's already lighting up.
Whoa!
Oh my god.
This is pretty cool, guys. Oh,
Dude,
man.
after 3
That
hours.
is RGB barf right
Boys,
there.
after 3 hours of doing work, well, I didn't do anything, but
That is a full-on definition of RGB barf right there.
that is insane.
Hey, it's booting, boys.
It's booting.
Let's go.
Come over.
It works. American Megatrends. Okay.
Let's go.
Let's see here. Intel Core i7-8700K. Memory, 32 gigabytes. Everything is showing up. That's perfect. USB devices total. 0 keyboard, 0 mouse, 2 hubs. Okay.
Successfully made
That is
it.
pretty good. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and boot it up again.
Oh, switch on the bottom.
Yeah, switch on the bottom.
Got it.
Lights are on. Oh god, that barf is still insane. Okay.
Alright, so continue up.
Should be powering on our USB devices in just a minute here. We should have an RGB mousepad and a bunch of other stuff.
Make sure they're all plugged in correctly.
Asus, yep, we got our keyboard.
Now I'm ready for the mouse and keyboard's looking nice.
What are you doing? Don't unplug anything yet.
Trying to think, see if that really.
Okay, we're in BIOS.
Does the mouse work? That's the thing.
We got Samsung. We got a 970
mine's
Evo. Perfect.
Look at that RPM. Oh my god.
Okay, so everything works. We go ahead and plug this in to our front panel. Boot menu F8. Oh, we're gonna have to perform a reboot to do this. Where's the reset? Is there no reset key? Really? Oh my god, this is still like...
Bruh.
Yeah. That's...
Oh.
We kind of went full on RGB barf there. Oh, okay, so we're booting into
Windows.
Windows installer. And,
Can't
yeah.
believe it. It's insane, dude. I think just the CPU cooler is just the one thing that's not hooked up to everything else.
Oh no, it just does that. It's got an automatic thing.
Let's go.
Okay, language to install. English, yep.
Of course.
Install now. So we were recording this and my camera died and it was like 9 o'clock, so Nathan took his PC home. But basically all you do after you boot into Windows is you download your drivers for your graphics card if you happen to have one. That means for AMD cards, go to AMD and download your Radeon drivers. For NVIDIA cards, you're going to go to NVIDIA.com and search for their drivers, enter your graphics card, and it'll pop up with the, hopefully, the most recent version of the driver. And apart from that, if you have any peripherals, RGB, anything like that, you'll have to refer to your manufacturer, download software to control those lights. And apart from that, you have a brand new PC. So thanks for watching this video. It was our first one, so hopefully you liked it. And we're going to be making more content just like this, so we'll see you in the next one.